Alright guys, I'm here a little bit late with a Nightmare Corridor video for this new round and with this new boss of Nightmare Corridor. Now, just like with Treasure Scramble and such, there are no like super complete guides out there. So what I will show you guys is what I made work with my heroes, and then I'll show you guys where you can find different teams depending on what heroes you have. But obviously, if you have tried this round of Nightmare Corridor, you know that this is actually quite a tough round with the new boss. It's not super easy to kill, but I got it done, and I believe you guys can get it done as well. So let us go take a look at my teams over here in the Nightmare Corridor. As you can see, currently I'm ranked 6%, and actually just killing the boss is really what gets you a high rank here, because it's so tough. So let's go through my teams real quick. Now, obviously some of these boss rounds are repeated from last time, so there's not much innovation to be done here. So for this first one, obviously this is the same that it has been since this boss, well, not since this boss was released, but since Idri, I don't know the pronunciation, was introduced in the Nightmare Corridor. So nothing has changed here. It's the Yoren team. Obviously, if you have Olgath, you know by now that you can use him here for better times. For the second team, this is where I merc a Matria. You can use Kren, you can use Brutus, if you don't have a accessible Matria, but for me, Matria is the fastest. Also, you can use, if you check out my last video, you can use Karasio in here as well, to replace Matria. But I need Karasio elsewhere to replace another Awakened Heroes. But yeah, this is what I came up with. Actually, I didn't do that much testing on this team because I was so focused on the last team. So it's very possible that there's a better unit than Skreg for this position. Actually, it's super possible. Anyways, for the third team, this is my Karasio team, right? And this is obviously if you had Awakened Athalia, if you have an Awakened Thane, you would throw them into the first and the third round, right? Because that's where they slot. But for people like me and people like some of you guys who don't have those heroes, Karasio does well, right? As you can see, with the Seal Pet killing the boss quite fast. Now, the Belinda team. Nothing has changed here except for one thing that has changed, and that is that I use Aziz in here. And you might be wondering why you're not using Rosaline, and it will all become clear once I show you my last team. But basically, I needed Rosaline elsewhere, so I slotted in Aziz, and it did harm my Belinda team, obviously, but I needed Rosaline elsewhere to actually kill the final boss. And then for the fifth team here, this is the Scarlet team, right? The Scarlet Gress. You can also do Scarlet plus Rem if you have Rem freed up instead of Gress, and that is better. However, I needed Rem elsewhere, and that's because we're going to look at what everyone has been waiting for. Enough stalling, here we go. The fifth or the sixth team, I guess, the new boss. This new boss is unbelievably hard to craft a comp that can kill. I'll show you guys some different variations that I found, but since there's no complete guide out there, I'll just show you guys what I found to be working. But I will say that this was not easy for me. I had to try it many times. I even bought two extra tries for 100 diamond each, just to get some more retries on this boss, to try out different comps. But what made it work for me is using Rem with Thiel and Damia. Very, very free-to-play friendly. I know, guys, I'm sorry, but this round is just so tough, and I think you really need some actual good heroes to get through it, which sucks, right? Because there's no cheap replacements, or at least there are no cheap replacements that I have seen yet. There are more expensive replacements, obviously, and we'll get to that in a bit. But as you can see, right, I needed Rosaline, because without Rosaline, I was not able to actually kill this boss. If we go look at my battle history, you can see there's so much RNG, right? This is where, as you can see, sometimes I kill 4 heroes, 5 for the longest time, right? Then I killed 6 with the worst time of all, right? And this was with the with the trial version of Sophia, and I also got the 4 kill quest done here. But yeah, this round of Nightmare Corridor is super tough. The boss is super tough. You've seen my teams. Now let me show you some different teams. And for that, first we're gonna head over to the browser, and then later on we're gonna head over to the crowdsourcing Discord server, which I'll leave a link to in the description, because that's where I found these screenshots. Because there's there are no complete guides for this round, so you have to look at what other people have done and see if you can replicate it. And the reason I brought this screenshot with me is because, as you can see, most of the things are, you know, the same as mine, or similar to mine. But I just, the reason I brought this is, well, one, because I know you can use Belinda in this round if you need to free up Rain, but also because I wanted to show you guys what a good 6 team looks like, right? And this is where you can use the new Awakened hero, Awakened Sophia. So if you guys built that hero, you can slot her into this last formation here, and she works well. And obviously you need Awakened Aziz in this round, which is interesting, right? He has no use, and then all of a sudden he has a lot of use. And actually, if you guys don't have Awakened Aziz, there's currently an ongoing event where you can get a free copy of him. So that's actually pretty nice. If you were one of the people who didn't summon a single copy for him already, because he works, you know, at a single copy. Anyways, back here, right? This was just a way to showcase better teams than mine. If you have stronger rosters than mine, then you could follow something like this, but you could obviously also follow the leaderboard. Now, here's another variation, I should say, of killing the last boss. And here we are using the seal pet, as you can see here, the seal pet, and then you use Khazard to increase CC duration. And the reason I brought this is because this uses Damia at a low investment, right? Plus 20 signature item, and it gets the boss killed. One thing I will note though, however, is that the tree is quite high here, and the timing is pretty close. And also, obviously, 5-star Vathiel and 5-star Super Engraved Rem might not be doable for everyone. And then lastly, this is the same guy right from the first team right here. And this is the variation that I ended up using, because this was the one that worked out for me, using Rosaline in the last team, following Rem, obviously. And this was what worked out for me, right? One thing I will say that's actually pretty important, I had some guild members who were like, they couldn't understand why they couldn't make the last team work. And something that's super important that I hope that you need to pay attention to is whether or not your Aziz has gear, because that gives him a ton of stats. And a lot of people, they haven't even bothered putting in the resonating gear on Aziz, but you really want to make sure he has gear, because without gear, some of my guildmates were struggling so hard, even with super large accounts. So apparently having gear on Aziz makes a big difference. But that's it for like what I use to base my teams upon. But I do want to show you guys where you can find help, because God knows you might need it in this round. And I wasn't able to make a super well done guide because I was busy with the Abyssal Expedition, and also Diablo 4 has been taking up a bit of my time. But I want to go over here to the FK Arena crowdsourcing Discord server, because as you can see here, they have a Nightmare Corridor category, and here you can find a lot, and I mean a lot of different variations. Also, if you need to do the 4-kill quest, right, here are some different ways to do it. Here's a super cheap way to do the 4-kill quest, only using Rem, and then 4 faction heroes, or 3 faction heroes, I guess, but faction heroes. And then obviously, if you have stronger accounts, you can look at some of the stronger rounds. And here, another variation of the 4-kill challenge. But I would browse here, right? Because this is where I browse to find teams that worked out for me. And if you can't make teams that work out here, for next week, I'm gonna cook, basically. Let me cook. I'm sure I can scour up some free-to-play friendly teams for this last stage, and some free-to-play friendly teams that can clear all 6 stages. But I will say this new boss is super tough. I've repeated that multiple times, but it really cannot be underestimated how strong the new boss is. And I'm not sure about this direction for the Nightmare Corridor. I low-key kind of like it, that the bosses are such a challenge. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if something emerges. One thing real quick, you could just, I mean, if you guys didn't know, you can look at the leaderboard. Obviously, you do know this, but you can look at the best in slot formations, right? If you're able to build these. And then obviously, here, if you guys have a seize at this investment, welcome. You can do this, but obviously no one's going to be able to replicate these teams. But that's it for me. basically, you want to make 6 teams that work. That's the gist of it. Your timing is less important. Just make 6 teams that work, and then you can start improving your time after that. But I wanted to make this video because I saw some people requesting my Nightmare Corridor video, and I hadn't done my attacks, so I was kind of unaware of how tough this new iteration of Nightmare Corridor was. So now I've done my attacks, and I recorded this video, and hopefully it was able to help you guys clear all 6 bosses with minimal Awakened Heroes and Celestial and Hypergens. But that's it for me. Take care.